Hey, this is Anthony with RevZilla. Watch, decide, and ride. Welcome to our detailed breakdown of the new X-Lite X-802RR Ultra Carbon Helmet, available at RevZilla.com. This is the top of the line from Nolan. Long awaited, we finally have it in the States. It is their X-Lite series. X-Lite's helmets, we've seen them in MotoGP. They're typically all composite. And one of the cool things is while you have Nolan out of Italy, this is their Apex line. It's also handmade in Italy. So again, very few manufacturers these days making their helmets in Italy, many times sending them to the Far East or different places. It's nice to see super premium coming out of Europe. Now, within the X-Lite line, there are a few different models, and certainly there are a few different graphic schemes here on this X-802RR Ultra Carbon. This is the Puro. You can see all of the carbon fiber overlaid on top of that Kevlar composite, straight through. Very, very simple. There are also some other graphics that play, a stoner graphic and some other graphics that work their way in as well. But when we think about this helmet, really at a top level, whether you're upright, whether you're three-quarter, or your chin on the tank, it's a very aggressive, very lightweight helmet coming in at 3 pounds, 4 ounces with a intermediate to race fit that's going to be rock solid, look great, but perform really well. I will quickly call out before we dive into the head shape and dive into all of the nuances, there were 3 things that tripped us up on this helmet. The first thing, and I'll talk to it at length, is the way that the shield mechanism, the gasket and the way that it closes. The other thing you should keep in mind is there are no cutouts for speaker pockets in the ears. Again, if you like to ride with a Bluetooth communication unit and you don't want the Nolan version of it, that is going to be something you're going to be limited in your range. The other thing I'm going to call out is this is a DOT only helmet. Now, I will tell you that currently in MotoGP, I mean, Casey Stoner, who's a test rider, is still riding this, or other guys that are still riding this Ultra Carbon helmet at the top line here with this X802RR. In Europe, they're going to carry that ECE testing range and that ECE sticker. Now, it's the same helmet, but when they brought it to the States, they did not get the additional ECE cert. Does it mean they're making the helmet differently? No. But does it mean that if you ride with a track day organization or you race and they're going to check that sticker every time, this is just going to be carrying that DOT rating? Again, doesn't mean they changed the spec. It means that, in my opinion, they cheaped out a little bit and didn't get that sticker. So in the States, hopefully they're going to add that moving down the line, but I look at it as a bit of a cost-cutting measure as they're bringing this line to the US for the first time to help keep their costs down. But again, overall, very impressed with the fit, finish, and the design of this helmet. Now, if we think about fit scheme on the X802RR here in our Ultra Carbon, thinking about fit, we're intermediate oval. I touched on it earlier. That's a little bit longer front to back. It's not overly wide. It's not going to be overly narrow. Again, my head's in intermediate oval head shape. You can see how it's slightly longer front to back. We see that with most helmets that fit the bulk of the US market, so no surprises there. I'll also call out that we consider this more of a race fit. Now, that comes into play in the density of the cheek pads. You're going to feel that this hugs your jawline and has a high density to it. That's done so that at speed, when this thing's getting compressed with tons of air that's flowing at it when you're up north of that triple-digit mark, what's going to happen is it's going to stay in place. It's going to stay where it's supposed to be. It's not going to slide around on you. Remember, use the size chart. We'll ship free over 39 bucks. I'd also love it if you click our logo, subscribe to us at RevZilla on our YouTube channel. Leave me your comments, your questions, your feedback on the new X802RR lid here in its Ultra Carbon configuration. I'd love to hear your questions. Now, diving into the lid itself, let's talk through the nuances start to finish. Starting from our outside working in, we already talked about the shell a little bit, but it's carbon fiber, which you can clearly see. Actually, you can see how the different lines come together. And that's infused over top of Kevlar. That obviously has resins keeping it together, but that's how you achieve this standard, this aggression, this protection scheme, but you're also getting it 3 pounds, 4 ounces, which again, we're seeing a lot of different manufacturers start to come in under 3 pounds, 6 ounces these days. This category is getting really crowded. I will also say this, for full carbon fiber, when we think about Arai, we think about AGV, we think about some of the other manufacturers, even Next, and what they're doing. This is under $600. So to come in under the $600 range for full carbon fiber that screams full carbon fiber, in my opinion, I think there's a ton of bang for the buck here, because you're not paying $900 or $1,000 or even $1,400 in some specs Think about something like the AGV Pista GPR, that kind of next echelon. But again, you're getting super lightweight, you're getting the strength, and you're also getting the look of carbon fiber. Now, if we look at the way that this is laid out from a ventilation scheme, there's a lot going on here. You have your chin vents. It's only one position, open or closed. And what's going to do if you open it up, it vents to the face, but it also vents to your visor here. That's going to allow you to defog it a little bit. Notice along the sides, you have passive vents. They're going to be extractors so that high-speed air coming over it, it's going to create a bit of a vacuum. They're going to pull warm, moist air out of that chin area, again helping you defog. Moving up towards the brow line, open and close, you do have two vents right here that are going to vent to your brow line, again working your way into the face, top of the head, and around your temples, keeping you cool. And then one of the things I really like is the vent scheme on top of the helmet. Very positive action, open and close, these big ram air jets that create these scoops. Now you can see from the positioning of them, they could have absolutely positioned them in a different place and been more tuned for race or more tuned for upright. What they did was they kind of went halfway with them, so you're going to get good airflow whether you're chin on the tank or whether you're upright. I mean, this helmet is very aggressive, but it's not so aggressive that I couldn't see somebody rocking on like a Ducati Monster or a Multistrada. Again, being that it's not overly chin on the tank, even though it is, in our estimation, developed to be more of a race thoroughbred within the Nolan line. Working your way back to that rear exhaust, it's passive right there, 2 ports. You know, at speed, you're going to have high speed air moving over. Again, it creates that vacuum, that Venturi effect. It's going to extract warm, moist air out of the channels, out of the helmet, helping it evaporate from your scalp, keeping you cool. And I will say, you do have the ability, you can see this strip back here, to raise or lower the rear profile, again, depending on your head position, depending on your position in your ride, whether you're chin on the tank or whether you're upright, you have the ability to tune that to make sure that you minimize buffeting, you get the right angle of this helmet so that when it's cutting through the air, you're going to get a great stable ride. And again, you can do that typically when you're head down or chin on the tank, and it's going to minimize a bit of that drag, that Z coefficient that creates that lift behind the helmet. So again, that's a nice touch to see you be able to tune that on and off, again, depending on what you're riding and how you're riding that day. You can see how everything kind of comes together nicely and finishes, and ultimately from the front to back you can see that big carbon fiber mohawk that works its way down, and you have that 45-degree angle sweeping in across the sides. Now if we work our way back to the shield here, it's a race-oriented shield, but I'll tell you, this is one of the things I called out earlier. In many cases these days we see a center lock position. You know, you have your center lock, your center position tab here for open and close with your hand, but we see a little bit of a snap to give you that great positive action that lets you know that you've popped it down. Then what we'll see is people will open it and give themselves that crack position. This helmet doesn't have it, nor does it have that sucking in factor of where your shield comes down, and ultimately there's a spring-loaded gasket here that's going to suck it in and pull it and create a really tight seal. This helmet just kind of has an up and down actuation. That is one of the things I called out earlier in the video that we think can be improved. You also notice your locking mechanism is here on the side, so I have the helmet locked now, and I have it opened. And if I work my way back around to this side, it's a little easier for me. I'll show you how you remove it. It's actually a very simple on and off for this shield. So you pop that button in, you slide it forward, it should pop right off for me. There we go. That pops off. Very simple to change if you want to carry that Dark Smoke shield. And then to put it back on, you kind of go front to back and line it up and slide it down. And that guy pops right back on very, very simply. Also note on the sides of these shields here, you're gonna see these posts, and they're going to be pin lock posts. So it's nice to have them, but even nicer is that they're including a standard pin lock lens in the box. And what pin lock does is gives you a physical barrier from fog. So you're getting that fog-free layer that you can add if you want. Currently we don't have it configured, but typically there are a lot of helmets out there that people have to buy that pin lock lens after the fact. X-Lite is including that in the box. You can install it on your own. It's not max vision, it's gonna be the standard size, but that's gonna configure and really attach on the inside of this shield via these pin lock posts on either side. Now, if I pull up my donut, we flip it on its side, let's start working our way from the inside out. One of the things we like about this helmet, you'll see this green, that's their signifier for their carbon interior. That's a carbon infused interior, and we always think about, you hear about charcoal, it's an odor eater. Well, it's that same principle with carbon infusion into the fabric on the inside of the interior. It's wicking, it's antimicrobial, the carbon factor keeps the smell away, it keeps the funk away. But again, these are premium cheek pads, they're easy to remove, you're gonna wanna clean them, and you have the ability to do so. And again, by upgrading that interior, you should hopefully get a more comfortable ride and get more longevity. The other part about these cheek pads, the way they're infused, the materials they're using, they create a slight cooling effect. Now you'll notice I pulled the right side out. Notice big contour here, heavy duty, Nice and dense. Again, that's more of that race orientation, so it's going to be highly dense against your skin, and it's going to be harder to compress at speed. And you can see it ties in with your neck roll as well. And you can see you have a ventilated mesh area right there on the neck roll, and then you have your micro suede on the inside, and that's the piece that's going to really touch against your skin. Pull my other side out here. They're just basic snaps. Pull them out. Notorious for breaking these bad boys as I move out. The other thing you're going to notice, again, that they're developing a helmet that does have more of a race orientation. There's no emergency cheek pad removal system on this helmet. And again, when you start to get north of the $500 mark and you're touting something to get to the track, you do like to see that come into place. Now, your chin curtain here, super easy. It's non-adjustable, but it is easy to remove. And you can see that carbon-infused material, that soft material against your chin, that works its way on the top side. They could have cheaped out and just made it mesh, but you're going to get that against the bottom of your chin as well. And you'll see along the front, we do have that cutout, so if you have that in, you're not going to impede airflow through the chin vent on this helmet. Now, working our way into the helmet itself, you'll see from the back, the snaps come out. Here's my comfort liner. I'm going to pull it out to the front. I do like the fact that they're not connecting it along the EPS. They're connecting it to the brow line. So if I work my way to the front of this helmet, it slides up and under the brow line. You'll see as I try to remove this guy. There we go. And what that does is by not having a snap on the forehead, you're not allowing this helmet to create any unnecessary pressure points. So no forehead snaps, no snaps even below the occipital ridge where you typically wouldn't feel them. And notice, it is 3D foam. It's meant to be denser in certain areas, cradle your head, really accentuate that intermediate oval head shape that it has. And again, you have your mesh areas just to give you some coverage. This is where the primary airflow is going to go through the channeling of the helmet. And you'll see, again, goes in between the shell and the EPS liner. And it is what we'd expect to see from a more premium helmet, knowing it is covering that price tag. It's getting up north of that $500 mark. Now, if we open it up and turn it this way, you're going to see there's a lot of massive channeling, big 10mm vent holes. They come in, and you have great channeling that goes through the helmet that's going to give it the ability to pull the air in, extract sweat and moisture off of your head, pull it back, and then exhaust it through the back. Again, if you're riding in a helmet like this, especially if you're working hard on the track, what you don't want to do is start to overheat. What you don't want to do is have features of this helmet that start to distract you or get in the way or almost working against you. A helmet like this, in the right scenario, tuned and fit properly, should really become neutral. You should forget that you're wearing it, but it should do its job at speed, and certainly it should protect you if you happen to go down and it comes in contact with another rider, the bike, or God forbid, the pavement. But again, this is the X-Lite X-802RR, the new flagship from really Nolan X-Lite. X-Lite is their premium premier brand, handmade in Italy. Again, a few things I called out, like the cheek pads, the shield mechanism, and I called out the emergency cheek pad system. Or again, that was those cutaways for the Bluetooth unit, things they could improve upon the next version. But if you're looking for a super lightweight, full carbon helmet that has a great style and versatility, and again, Nolan and X-Lite need to figure out what they're doing with that ECE stickering for the US. If folks really start to adapt these quickly and want to take them into more race scenarios, they're going to have to figure that out as well. The next step in your journey is click the info button, your desktop, your mobile device. Visit the product detail page at RevZilla.com. Read other rider reviews on the new X-Lite X-802RR Ultra Carbon Helmet. You should not just take my word for it. As always, we'll ship for free over $39. If you want to talk to a gear geek, see us at RevZilla.com or 877-792-9455. Thanks for watching our detailed breakdown. Remember, subscribe to us at RevZilla on our YouTube channel. Stay up to date with our opinion on the latest and greatest in the motorcycle universe. I'm Anthony. We'll see you next time.